Next, we'll proceed to Part 8, the crimes relative to opium and other prohibited drugs. First, we have the RA 9165, under which is the case of People versus Partosa. Next is we have People versus Padua. We also have People versus Habana. Next, we have People versus Santiago. Next, we have People versus Watamama. Next, we have Pidea versus Burdett and Joseph. Next, we have Stipanov Jr. versus Labrigo and People. We also have People versus Saison. Next, we have People versus Lim. We also have Saire versus People. Now we go to Part 9. The crimes committed by public officers or related to public office. We have the RA 3019, the Anti-Graft and Corrupt Practices Act, under which is the case of Morphy versus Mutuk. We also have the case of Harabata versus Sandigang Bayan. Then the case of Mihorda versus Sandigang Bayan. And also the Fonashier versus Sandigan Bayan. We also have Mendoza Arce versus Ombudsman. We also have the Trieste versus Sandigan Bayan. And also the case of Alvarez versus People. Also the case of Go versus Sandigan Bayan. Next is the RA 6713, the Code of Conduct and Ethical Standards for Public Officers and Employees, under which is the case of Samson versus Restriviera. Next is the Ombudsman versus Madriaga. Also, the case of Rabi versus Flores. Next is PD 46, the Anti-Gift Giving. Next is the RA 7080, the Anti-Plunder Act. We also have the case under which is Estrada versus Sandigan Bayan. Also, the People versus Macapagal Arroyo. Next is we have the RA 1379, the sequestration law, under which is the case of Cabal versus Kapunan. We also have Garcia versus Sandigan Bayan. We also have the Republic versus Sandigan Bayan. Also, Republic versus Sandigan Bayan and Marcos. The Bulgarian versus Republic. Number 6 is the RA 9372, Human Security Act of 2007. RA 9485, and also the RA 111479, the Anti-Terrorism Act 2020. Now we go to Part 10, the crimes against person. First, we have the RA 9262, the VAUSI. Also, we have the RA 9775, anti-child pornography. Third, we have RA 8049, the anti-hazing, under which is the case of Villarreal versus People. Next, we also have the RA 7610, the anti-child abuse law, under which is the case of Malta versus People. Second is People versus Matias. Third is Flor de Lis versus People. We also have the RA 9344, the Juvenile Justice and Welfare Act. 6 is the PD 603, Child and Youth Welfare Code. 7th, the RA 10353, Anti-Enforced or Involuntary Disappearance Act. Next, we have the Part 11, the Crimes Against Personal Liberty and Security. First, we have the RA 4200, the Anti-Wiretapping Act, under which is the case of Ganaan versus IAC. We also have Ramirez versus CA. Second, we have the RA 9372, the Human Security Act, under which is surveillance, interception, and recording, under which is Section 7. Next is the restriction on travel. Next is the examination of bank and documents. RA 9208, please see Part 5, Number 6, and 4th RA 11479, Anti-Terrorism Act of 2020, see Part